you hear this a lot of times, especially in Western swing and things like that. Something I'll, for lack of a better term, we'll call the ping and zing technique, where you play a note like this and slide it around. Very common. Anything like that is a cool technique on the pedal steel, and if you listen to recordings, you'll hear that happen over and over again in scenarios like Western swing. Another scenario you hear in Western swing a lot is where you take that palm technique and actually rake several strings at once. And that's a cool technique. It's also a cool technique to play that and then move the bar. Very typical type stuff for old school steel guitar things. So now, we know how to play these. We're going to discuss some things you can use them for. I'm going to show you one more technique since I did that with the palm. You can also do that with the finger behind with the thumb behind the finger technique. This is a little tricky. It takes some practice, but you can actually brush across the strings this way as well. And that too can be a neat technique. So we're going to switch gears a little bit now and actually change keys. And the reason I want to change keys is because I want to open up a little wider range of the fretboard to illustrate some stuff that's just neat to play on the pedal steel. So we're done with the key of E. We're moving to the key of A. Here we are, A at the 5th fret. And if we go up here to the 15th fret, here's all our harmonics. Now remember we talked about earlier, if you play, that's the 5 of A, that's all stuff that sounds like E. Well, if we push the pedals down, now it's A. So here we go, some stuff in A down here, some stuff in A with the pedals. And then if we wanted to go right up here to the 10th fret, we're back to A an octave higher. So we could play stuff like this. Any sort of little thing like that. All cool tricks on the pedal steel. Now then, I promised you more advanced players that we were going to get into some somewhat more interesting aspects of what can be done with some of these harmonic things. And so I'm actually going to reach down here, turn on my overdrive pedal, because having a ton of gain is what's going to make some of these ideas possible. So I'm going to turn on my overdrive pedal. Now if I played the guitar open, it's crunchy and dirty and sounds like rock and roll. So now we're going to learn a technique where we play a string. In this case, I'm going to play, we'll go back to the key of E for this. I'm going to play the 5th string at the 5th fret. That is the note of E. Same as open E. And so I'm going to play this string with the distortion on, and then very quickly, I'm going to take the tip of that ring finger and just brush across the fret an octave higher. So we took a string that was ringing fretted, and we turned it into a harmonic. And the gain that comes from the distortion is what makes this possible. Rock and roll guitar players do this sort of thing all the time. But that allows us to do something crazy like this. Okay, so we played the note, we quickly brushed across it, and then we moved it. All sort of in one shot. Sounds like this. When I got up there, I added the A pedal in and out. So tricks like that work with harmonics, but they pretty much only work if there's a lot of gain to help boost those frequencies out. Now, another thing I do sometimes when we're playing these sort of rock and roll metal kind of licks like that is I'm going to employ that thing we did with the palm, except now when all this gain is going on, it's going to add a lot more possibilities to the harmonics. So here we are in E again at the 12th fret, and this time I'm going to use the palm of my hand up here at the 24th fret. And this can come into play for playing like some heavy metal lick kind of things that involve a whole ton of distortion in harmonics. So stuff like this. I'm still going to be in the key of E, but this is going to be E pentatonic minor, so it'll sound like rock and roll. So the bar is going to be all over the 10th fret, and I'm going to be fretting things up here at the 20th fret with the palm of my hand and play some stuff like this. And the beauty of that is if the harmonic comes out, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. Once again, you can play this kind of thing and then move it for a cool effect. Since I'm up here at the 15th fret anyway, I might do something like this. So tricky little metal sounding rock and roll harmonics that are basically only made possible with a ton of distortion. So hopefully that's going to cover a bunch of the bases about some of the properties of harmonics, some of the physical techniques used to play them on the pedal steel, and some examples of how, when, and where to play them in all sorts of musical situations. Thanks for being with us today here in the Steel Lab, and happy practicing.